Hey, this is Evan Shapiro from Content Crossroads at South by Southwest 2025. I have Lydia Daly, Head of Audience Insights, and say that again.
Audience and marketplace intelligence.
Audience and Marketplace Intelligence. What does someone who is the head of Audience and Marketplace Intelligence even do for a living?
Yeah, so I, within Paramount, I'm part of the advertising division.
Okay.
And so my team covers everything that you would expect from a typical research and insights function within a media company. So data strategy and analytics, effectiveness reporting for campaigns that we run with our brand partners, all that type of thing. But on top of that, I have a group who are dedicated to a few things, including studying what's happening in the world at large in terms of culture, studying what's happening in the marketplace to try and kind of garner intelligence around categories and brands and kind of the competitive space. And then lastly, we do a lot of work, which we call creative strategy, similar to you would get at a creative advertising agency. That is where my background is in that space. So informing the work, the creative work that our Paramount Brand Studio does with insights to make sure that all of the integrations that we create, the advertising that we do for our clients is, has insights related to the audience or related to the subject matter in mind.
So you're studying not just the audience that you have within the walls and on the platforms of Paramount Global. You're looking at what else this audience does when they're elsewhere and what the larger culture is moving towards, both within different audiences and audience segments, but just generally throughout the culture itself.
Totally. So we are interested in what our advertising partners are interested in. Like, how can we make their lives better? How can we understand the world of marketing and how that overlaps with content and culture and all of those things? So we create thought leadership studies on generations, for example. So we have a study all around Gen Alpha. We have one on Gen Z. We used to study millennials, when people cared about millennials. But
they aged out of being cared about?
They aged out of being
Congratulations.
I mean, yeah, I know, right? So we study all of those things, and then we leverage that in many ways. So we will either leverage it to inform that creative work we're doing with Paramount Brand Studio, and we'll often take it to the advertiser directly, where we will go and present these studies, share our insights. We'll often host creative brainstorming sessions with them, or we will do workshops with them in terms of helping them finding ways to leverage those insights for their own brands and their own objectives.
So you're knee deep in the data, both externally and internally, and you're studying these different generational trends that we talked about, or you talked about. What are you seeing? What is it that you're seeing about where the culture is, especially if there's any insight around youth audiences like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and where their minds are as consumers, or any other trend that you think really emerges and makes you say, oh, wow, when you look at it these days, when you're at your desk?
I think the thing that is most compelling to me now, and probably has been for the past year, and I think will continue to be, is the velocity of culture and how quickly everything is changing. And that is intergenerational, right? It's Gen Alpha, it's Gen Z, it's millennials. So how quickly something becomes a trend and is resonating on TikTok or on Instagram or wherever it may be, it comes, it goes, and the idea of brands trying to make the decision, do I lean into this? Do I not lean into this? Is now the time? Is this right for me? I just find that fascinating. That's hard to manage, the speed of those things.
Do you think that brands are going to have to get more comfortable adapting to the speed of cultural shift? Meaning, are they going to have to get more comfortable allowing creators and influencers to kind of take hold of their brand on their behalf, but without control?
I don't know. I don't know many clients or advertisers that will be like, hey, creator, you take control. It's totally fine. And I'll let you take the reins. I don't think it will come to that necessarily. I think the advertisers themselves need to become more sophisticated in this space. They need to have social listening teams. If they don't already, they need to be working with agencies or partners such as us that do. They need to be monitoring these trends. And then they also need to understand that you don't have to lean into everything, right? You don't have to be the person who turns something around 24 hours later. And often that's probably not relevant for your brand anyway. Maybe you don't even have permission to do so from that particular fan or that particular audience. I think there's certain advertisers who do a great job of leaning into the velocity of culture, let's say. Duolingo is one that comes to mind. There's many examples of things they do, but the one that I thought was really funny was when Charlie XCX had her, Brett Green out. They sent their the Duolingo birds to the concert. Did you see this?
Yes, I did.
And they got photographed because they're 365 days a year. They're brat.
And so listening to the culture, even if you're not going to reply in real time, knowing what the cadence is comfortable for you and your brand, but more importantly, listening to the culture and listening to the audiences as they give voice to what's happening out there is crucial.
I think it's crucial. And look, we talk a lot, and one of the workshops that we offer clients and partners is our trends workshop, where we help explain to clients how to understand trends and how there is a life cycle to them, and that not everything that you see happening on social media or in the zeitgeist is actually something that could be defined as a trend, right? There are signals. There are micro trends, and then there are trends. And trends are things that happen over a longer period of time. Signals could be anything. It could be a social media post. It could be more. So you need to, I think you need to be thinking about it in that way and trying to apply some, I don't know what the word is, but like some structure to it almost, in how you think about it internally, and then how you as a brand are prepared to respond to that, and how.
I think ultimately, if you understand what your filters are, if you understand what your true goals are, it's easier for you to understand what fits in with your goals, what fits in with your brand, and what doesn't. And so often brands are not prepared. They haven't done the homework on their own audience.
It's so funny because isn't it the exact same thing as brands 10, 20 years ago, right? Before there was this issue of the speed of culture. Everyone had brand guidelines. Everyone had, here's my brand Bible, and here advertising agency. This is what we do.
More important
now, right,
than ever, because when you do work with an influencer or with a partner brand like Paramount, you have to be able to clearly say, these are our 3 watchwords.
Yeah, right.
Simple.
This is how
complete agreement. We now understand what color green we use.
Yeah.
And so in this era of so much sound and noise and signal, knowing your own signal is really crucial.
Is important. Yeah. And I will say, you're mentioning Paramount, which is obviously where I work. I will say that it can be easier for brands if you do lean in and work with a publisher or someone who's already creating content that's resonating culturally, right? Or who might have a temple that you can lean into that is already going to have conversation around it, is already going to be generating that conversation before, during, after that particular event. I think that can make it easier for you to do it than trying to do it completely on your own and trying to be a brand that has to be.
Sure, especially if content is not your primary business.
Exactly.
You want to be in an environment that is effective that way. Well, I could talk to you forever about this, but thank you for coming to South by.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on our panel earlier. Did you have a good time on the panel?
I did. I really enjoyed it.
It was a good group.
It was a great group. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
We had a good day here. So thanks so much,
Thank you so much
for being a part of this. Thank you out there for watching. We'll see you in a little bit.